Cal sighed in annoyance as the chorus of mockery from behind them grew ever louder. Okay. So, get in. Find a spot. Or something, Cal said, moving aside and gesturing for the 4 terrified women to get on board. I said get in, Caliban commanded with far more authority than he needed. His outburst even silenced the dragons. The women suddenly made a mad scramble to get in the back, nearly climbing over each other to secure a seat among the dragons. Each girl sat in the best open seat, unfortunately sandwiched between the juvenile beasts. Each girl feeling more and more uncomfortable as the beasts regarded them closely. The roar of the machine's heart echoed through the valley, the machine moving in earnest with an angered rumble. Could have been in an eternal war in heaven, but no, I'm here. Could have been reincarnated as a pastry chef, but no, I'm here. Could have just stayed the hell home and learned how to pay taxes. But no, I am here. What did I do to deserve this? Caliban said, his voice mildly muffled but still audible from inside the machine's body. The mechanical beast trundled along for a few minutes before entering a clearing near a sheer cliff. All right, you crazy turkeys! Here's your drop-off, now scram! Caliban yelled. The dragons all dismounted and stood at the edge of the cliff, each one attempting to coax each other off the sheer drop into the tree line below. They ranted and raved at each other for a time before Caliban hit something inside the cabin. A loud, obnoxious noise that reverberated through the valley suddenly burst from the machine's front end, sending all 6 dragons suddenly scrambling off the cliff's edge. All of them made it, flapping their wings furiously to stop themselves from slamming into the rock below to a chorus of Caliban's mocking laughter. The girls all were amazed at the sight, but quickly huddled up together in the seats closest to the front as Caliban took them back towards the mountain pass. The girls looked terrified, but were unable to escape owing to how fast the machine was moving, and cowered together in the back. The machine quickly made its way through the huge gates, down a mountain pass and towards the massive structures at the crater's center. Caliban parked in a specific place and got out of the machine. Get out! He commanded. All 4 girls scrambled out of the back onto the floor and marveled in fear and awe at the size of the buildings around them. Right. That! Caliban pointed at the cathedral-like structure. Is my house? Go in, I'll make us some tea. Or coffee. Or something. Caliban then pointed to the massive structure nearby. That is my war factory. Don't go in there without me. That place has machines that will remove limbs and turn you into soupy goo if you aren't careful. Got that? The 4 of them nodded nervously and wandered in the smaller building. They were taken aback by its interior as much as its exterior. Complete opposites. On the outside, a precision-carved, carefully managed edifice of stone and mortar made to fit precisely in a beautiful pattern of fervor and faith. On the inside, a disheveled mess of machine parts, loose components, scrap metal, and the perfect match for what can be described as before wife. It was neat enough they could move about and find a comfy spot, clean enough their feet did not squelch underfoot. But still, the 4 could clearly see this was a quintessential man cave. Huh. It seems even across worlds, men are all pretty much alike. This looks like my older brother's study, Genasi said idly. Across worlds? Pray tell, fair friend, what mean thou by this? Marie asked as she sat on a chair, a strangely comfortable chair that made her coo like a dove as she sank into it. Oh, come on, Marie. The machines with wheels, the huge steel building that makes machines. There's no way he's from around here. He even said so himself. He had no idea what elves or demi-men were. He must have been summoned. But by whom? Serenia said with a sigh. The gods often create heroes from thin air in response to a major cataclysm. Is he a summoned one? He must be, Amari said. Impossible. Besides, the smog dragons, who have always been a threat, even to the red dragons, have always been under control. Reasonably speaking, nobbins, gargoyles, that type haven't been that much of a challenge for the local guardsmen, or even the Adventurers Guild. Why even is he here? And more importantly, why summon his entire house? Serenia replied with a sigh. I heard naught on the vine pertaining to aught of concern, I fear. Perhaps the gods have erred or acted in jest, Marie said, her voice strangely calm as she sank into her comfy chair. Or maybe this guy is here because there's something in the future we're going to need him for. And because of the complexity of his machinery, he needs time to prepare, Genasi said. Uh-oh? The other 3 replied in turn. The door opened and in walked the subject of their conversation, shirtless, carrying a collection of brightly colored cylinders in some strange packet. Ugh, can't be bothered to boil the kettle, so here, have some sodas, he said, and casually handed each girl one of the objects. They were cylindrical with strange markings, tops with odd openings and a red coloration. What is this? Genasi asked. Observe, Caliban said. He flipped the odd cap on the top of it, a strange whoosh sound coming from the object. Caliban then chugged it down and emptied it, crushing the cylinder flat on his forehead, then tossing it in a nearby basket. Ooh, God, that tats is good. God, I'm so glad I spent money on those licenses. Cal then sat there expectantly and waited for them. The four girls carefully considered each other. Why do you have no shirt? Marie asked. Invited guests get the courtesy of a dressed host and a clean home. You are uninvited and unexpected. Therefore you get the sweaty muscle of a man after a hard day of work, and a can of soda. He glared at them with an angry spark in his eyes. The girls all swapped glances, popped the strange tops, and swallowed nervously at the odd liquid bubbling around inside it. They all tentatively took a sip of it. Marie broke her usual stoic resolve and squealed in delight before chugging the contents of the can down before belching loudly and shamelessly, much to her friend's shock. The other three tentatively sipped their own drinks. Genasi didn't like it much, the bubbling too much, but she drank it due to the sugary taste. Amari licked at it like a curious puppy, and then slurped it down, trying to shove her tongue in the can to try slurp up every last drop. Serenia gently tasted it, shrugged, and drank it like a lady sipping tea. She did not expect the loud belch at the end, and blushed as she held her hands over her mouth. Mixed response. Figured as much, not everyone likes Coca-Cola. But I do have other flavors and other drinks, including milkshakes and fruit juice. But that's for guests. Maybe next time. So, you have questions. Ask them, Cal said with a smirk. So, are you a human? Amari asked gently. Last I checked, yeah. Have a few mods, but nothing serious. To answer your question, mods means these, Cal said, and a long blade suddenly appeared out of his right forearm. It was razor sharp, shining a blue-green, and looked as vicious as can be, appearing more like a fang of a snake. Caliban quickly retracted it, then sat with a smile. Cybernetics. Mechanical augmentation. In short, I chop off arm, put machine in place. Now I have machine arm. The four girls looked terrified, shocked, and genuinely distressed at the sight. He simply sat there and waited for more questions. Eventually, Serenia gingerly raised a hand. What are those machines? How to explain? Do your people have steam engines or devices that use heat from boiling water to move machinery? Cal asked. Yes, actually, Genasi replied. That makes my job easier. That thing is called a truck. It uses basically the same principle as a steam engine does, converting the heat energy of burning coal or wood to heat water, then using the steam to turn a mechanism to convert that energy into motion. That machine uses much the same principle, only a lot more efficient, and a lot faster. Your fuel is steam and wood. My system just cuts out a few steps of middleman and makes it a lot more powerful, as you saw, Cal replied. The girls sat in silence for a few seconds and considered his words. Genasi said, ooh, as she understood what he was talking about. Her less mechanically inclined friends didn't quite get it, and just sat there with scrunched expressions trying to understand. I'll give you a good explanation later, maybe, if you behave nicely. Now my turn. Cat girls, wolf girls, elf, human. What else is there? Is this the 4 races, or is there more? Cal asked. Catkin, wolfkin, foxkin, dragonkin, human, elven. There's also dryads, fakin, satyrs, deerkin, demonkind, and divinekind. You already know the dragonkin. They were what did you call them? Frat boys? Serenia replied. Well, that's a full roster right there. God, half the people I know would have sold their souls to the lowest bidder to be where I am today. Guess it ain't all bad. All right, your turn, Cal replied. I've never seen a man like you, ever. You know, especially not with the whole machine arm thing. What are you? Marie asked. Mixed. As mixed as it gets. Caucasian, Native American, Latina, and African American. Specifically, Texas, Sioux, Mexico, Ghana. I'm a mix of all 4. In my old world, that combination is as rare as a politician who speaks the truth. And that's saying a lot right there. Short answer, I'm just a human, I just have an interesting lineage. But anyway, my turn. Magic. Is it a thing here? Cal asked. Yes. All 4 girls replied, then each raised a hand to conjure a simple spell. Marie made a ball of snow, Genasi a ball of fire, Serenia a ball of electricity, and Amari a ball of swirling leaves. Cool. Didn't have magic in my world. Only machinery, which in its own right, considering what we did, was its own magic, Cal said and stood up to the nearby closet. What did you do with your machines exactly? Amari asked. Communicated with millions of people all at once as if face-to-face across any distance via the internet, instantly. Used machinery to haul millions of tons of cargo per day, across tens of thousands of miles via trains, trucks, ship, and planes. Defied gravity by flying with aircraft such as helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft, gliders. Perfected the art of chemistry to make cures for thousands of horrible diseases. Used machines to put human footprints on the moon, then on another planet. Then eventually breaking the bods of the cradle and establishing new routes around new worlds far from home. That kind of stuff. Cal explained as he redressed himself, putting on some kind of odd uniform. The four sat open-mouthed at the explanation, and Caliban simply carried on as normal. He stepped away from his closet, wearing a full uniform of some kind, and carrying a very nasty-looking piece of equipment on his shoulder. What the hell are you wearing? Genasi asked. Combat armor, standard issue. Battle dress uniform or BDU unders with a plate carrier, cargo pants, carry-all backpack, mag pouches, packs, all colored a nice gentle blue, and my baby Jessica. My gun. Love this gun. Made it myself. By hand, Cal said, proudly brandishing the oddly blue-colored metal machine. What, pray tell, is that menacing machine? It scares me, Marie said as she looked at it. This? The AK-DMR platform custom-made rifle. 408 caliber, 60 rounds, midnight blue with a stub grip, bipod and stock. My Jessica. Pretty, ain't she? Yeah, she is. But to answer your question, a gun is an advanced freedom delivery mechanism. In your terms, ID say it's like a very powerful fireball spell. Only smaller, lethal ear, and significantly harder to dodge. And sexier, Cal said with a chuckle. That gray-blue dragon dude I shot earlier sure as hell figured that part out. Ha ha ha! The girls' faces all went white with horror as they suddenly knew who took the smog dragon down. One of the deadliest and hardest-to-fight beasts in the whole world was killed by that machine, and this random guy who seemed a bit too casual about it. Of course, that was just .408 Chaitak. I genuinely wonder what damage I could have done with a bigger shell. Probably would have blown it in half. Meh. Anyway, come on, ladies, you have outstayed your welcome. Let's get you home before dark, Cal said and gestured for them all to leave. Each girl was scared out of her mind, but eventually left their seats. The full-blown silent panic hit them, however, when their ride, a full-grown crimson elder dragon, stood in front of them. He was twice the size of Caliban's small house, covered in nearly blood-red mithril touch scales with his massive wings gently floating with the wind. His huge head and horns appeared polished and freshly cleaned, as if he had just had a bath. The beast visibly smirked at them and lay on the ground, putting a leg to the side and offering it as a ramp to get on his back. Caliban didn't give them a chance to do much else as he impatiently hurried them aboard and made sure they wore seatbelts. Each girl shared glances of shock, awe, and terror at the sight of them being strapped into a saddle atop an elder red dragon. Caliban didn't go with them, he climbed down. You sure you're okay to fly them home, Atirius? I can understand if you change your mind, Cal said. I am happy to be of help. In exchange for an extra serving of that tasty cake thing you make. We do not work for free after all, the dragon's voice grumbled in response. That's the spirit. I'm going to try bear hunting today. Little gamey, but hey, I know how to prepare a good bear stew. See you for dinner, Caliban said with a smile and grabbed a smaller truck from the parked machinery nearby. A smaller dragon, a youngling, presumably hopped in the machine with him, and the two drove off into the forest. The girl's owl squealed in terror as the enormous leathery wings flapped up, forcing them off the ground in one fluid motion. For the first time in history, each girl saw her home world from the skies. Forsooth? Such beauty, Marie said between gasps of terror.